Hello, hello. It's Abbey Dyer-Eminette, your AI expert and business coach, and I am jumping on today to talk about Funnel Hacking Live 2025. Now, if you're joining me live, give it a hashtag live. If you're joining me on the replay, give me a hashtag replay. So I know who joined me today to hear about Funnel Hacking Live. I went to my first, this was actually my first, it's the last Funnel Hacking Live. It was also my first. And we're gonna talk about some of the things that the amazing speakers that we heard at Funnel Hacking Live talked about. I'm only going to today talk about a part of what was talked about because as I started to plan for this live and what I wanted to share with you, it was like, there's so much. You're gonna be drinking through a fire hose if I go over everything that was covered. So we're gonna go over maybe the first like 3 or 4 speakers. And what an interesting thing. And if you're joining me live, I would love to know where you are joining me from. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee in the US. And I would love to know where you are joining me from on this Friday or maybe Saturday, depending on where you are in the world. Okay, so let's talk about one of the first things that I knew I related to the funnel hackers at Funnel Hacking Live when they said, the 1% crazy, welcome home. I don't know if you've heard this. I don't know if you use ClickFunnels. It's ClickFunnels that hosts the Funnel Hacking Live. It is a company who has funnels. Sales funnels, webinar funnels, all kinds of funnels. And if you've heard me speak ever before, it was probably around AI because I'm a huge AI nerd, but I'm also a huge funnel nerd. And the 1% is entrepreneurs. It's all of us. It's all of you. It's those people who decide to do something different than everybody else. So let's start with purpose. So Russell Brunson, who is one of the co-founders of ClickFunnels, really respects Napoleon Hill and all of the work that he did around success. And I'm sure all of you, or most of you, have read this book, right? I checked my copyright on this book, and it looks like 2003 is when I first got this book. I have read it multiple times. But Think and Grow Rich is definitely an entrepreneur's business book that must be read. And so Russell talked a little bit about definite purpose. That's what Napoleon Hill talks about. And what are you chasing? And many of us are chasing how we help more people, right? And the difference between those that are chasing helping more people and those that are chasing money, and how that impacts your abundance. So that was an interesting topic. We talked about the hero's journey. And Russell Brunson, again, I'm totally geeking out. I'm reading his books, watching his videos, and he talks about something called the hero's journey. And the hero's journey is when you decide to leave the ordinary world, right? And for me, I left what I would call the ordinary world back in September. I had been with a $1 billion Fortune 500 company for 25 years. And I came to the other side, right? As entrepreneurs. I like to say I left the matrix. I realized the matrix existed and then I left it. But we talked about that, and we talked about Simon Sinek's discussion that he has about your what and your how and your why, and how that journey to achievement, or that journey to transformation, is what people are looking for, right? You're looking for that call to adventure, to do something different, what you want to become, who you're called to serve. One of the things that we talked about is often for entrepreneurs, and I would say this around folks who are interested in doing a service business. I always considered myself, when I was in corporate, a servant leader. And if you're thinking of what you do as a service to other people, there's a chance that you're going to come into it and you're going to go, yay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to help somebody. I want to be a fitness coach. I want to be a financial coach. I want to be a life coach. And then many of the people that happens to decide to refuse the call. So instead of jumping in and being an entrepreneur, they're like, dang it, this is too hard, right? And one of my favorite quotes is, it won't be easy, but it'll be worth it. And I feel that way very much about being an entrepreneur. Okay, let's see. Resistance. I talked a lot about that. Anybody had resistance? I definitely have. I have had resistance in a couple of different ways in my 4 or so years online. Again, only recently being full-time online. It says, it isn't hard to build the funnel, it's hard to sit down and do it. And I don't know about you, but I originally thought about funnels in a very technical way. I thought about, I'm going to build a sales funnel, or I'm going to build a landing page, but a funnel is really the whole process that somebody goes through as they consume the things that you produce, the content that you create. And so I often know for me that resistance is where I have my biggest opportunities. And they talked about that. They talked about your guide shows up, and your guide being whomever it is that you're like, oh, she's speaking to me, right? That person really gets me. You might even consider it, it's your Yoda, it's your guide, who's showing up. When I came into the online space, I remember I made my first kind of big investment on a program to help me create courses. Go figure, right? Because now I help other people create courses. But I invested in that, and I considered her my guide, right? The person that I invested in was the person that was showing me the way, and showing me the way so that I'd have to learn it all on my own, right? And spend all sorts of time falling down. Though you do a lot of falling down and getting up as an entrepreneur, but it just other people have been, right? They get to bring you along on that ride. I know I do that for my clients. I help them jump from where they are to much further down the road from the things that I've learned, the mistakes that I've made, and being able to help support them. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, Russell talked about the journey makes you ready. It makes you ready to be that person that is going to help somebody else be able to be successful. I love that. Talked about 3 types of faith. Faith in the purpose or the calling. So what you're being called to do by God or by the universe. Faith in the guide, the person that you decide, the coach you pick, the program you pick. And then faith in yourself. And there was a lot of discussion in the event about much of the challenge for entrepreneurs isn't the technical stuff. It isn't the creating the thing. It's in here. It's what's in between your ears. And again, we talked about who you serve. He talked about the ripple effect. So it's not just helping the client that you're serving. It's when you help that client get over that trauma, or you help that client be healthier. That ripple effect impacts not just that client, but their kids, their family, their communities. Loved it. Loved that part of the discussion. Next was McCall Jones, who talked about authenticity, which is one of my absolute favorite. And if my word for the year wasn't what it is, authenticity would be my word. I think at the end of the day, she talked about charisma hacking, and I'd never heard anybody really define it that way. But she talked about how we as coaches, as service providers, you've got somebody who is having a tough time. And she used the book to give a mouse a cookie. And you've got this sad mouse, right? And in between the gap between the sad mouse and the happy mouse is the problem, right? The thing that you're going to solve for your dream client. You're going to help them achieve a result. And you're going to want to make sure that as they're going through the solution, that you're thinking through what their next problem is going to be. So once you have blank, you're going to need blank. And I will give you an example. Right now, I'm working on a program around how you stay consistent from a social media perspective. I get a lot of folks who really struggle with that. And so when I sat down and said, okay, how could I help? Right? I decided that I would make a custom AI that's specifically focused on social groups. Well, if I give you an AI bot that helps you create posts, what's the next problem you're going to have from a consistency perspective? Well, you probably need a content calendar, right? So it's thinking through the next logical steps that your ideal or dream client is going to need. She talked about trust styles and whether you are steady. And when you talk to your ideal or dream customer, you might say, you may be feeling sad or overwhelmed. The next trust style is fix. This is action. You may be doing XYZ, eating too much, sitting on the couch too often. Or mirror. And that's for people who you may be thinking that you're an imposter. So those were the trust styles. She talked about authority styles as well, and helping your client achieve that transformation. I think we talk about that a lot, right? It's not so much knowledge, it's transformation. Oh, the next person that spoke. Just get a sip of coffee there. Was Myron Golden. I love him. Love him. He is amazing. He wrote a book called Trash Man to Cash Man, which I have not read, but I'm going to. And he was telling us about how things like writing books pay off dividends on and on and on. He makes about $100,000 a year just on that book. And he said he hadn't looked at that book in like 16 years. It was so absolutely fascinating. He read another book called Boss Moves, and he makes $500,000 a year on that. And again, one and done. He created this amazing product, and it just keeps going and going and going. He talked about the fact that money is not wealth. Wealth is your ability to create value for someone other than yourself. Let me say that again, because I think it was a really, really important point. Money is not wealth. Wealth is your ability to create value for someone other than yourself. Thought it was so absolutely profound. And then the last person that I'm going to talk about before I wrap this up for today's highlights on Funnel Hacking Live 2025 was Trent Shelton. And he said, we don't fall to the level of our aspirations. We fall to the level of our self-worth. And he talked about the struggle that so many people have. 3 out of 10 people, so leaves most people, have trouble with self-belief, believing in themselves, trusting themselves, having confidence in themselves. He talked about 5 rules to living legendary. I want to live legendary. Do you want to live legendary? If you do, put yes in the chat. Number 1 is take massive ownership over your life and take your power back. Recognize that I am the problem and control the narrative of your own story. Number 2, your transparency will lead to your transformation. Be mission-minded, and conviction can take you places that talent never will. Conviction can take you places that talent never will. Gosh, again, another profound sort of speaker. He talked about stop bringing your vision to people who are not visionaries. Stop bringing your dreams to people who are not dreamers. That's probably where some of that self-belief comes from, right? That challenge with self-belief is that we talk to people who don't get it, which is why it's so important, and groups like this are amazing because we need each other. We need each other on this journey that we're on. He talked about power lenses, and just because you have some bad chapters doesn't mean your story won't end well. He said most people don't have a consistency problem. You're consistent at a lot of things, just not the right things. He said when he's making decisions, if it's not hell yes, it's hell no. And then he said, embrace adversity. It's our greatest gift. If you don't have adversity in your life, you're playing small. Stop saying, why me? Say, why not me? Because only storms produced growth. Yeah, just so good. Again, that is what I will give you for today. It was a really great event. I will talk next time about Tony Robbins and what he talked to us about during the time that we spent together. I hope this was helpful to you. Definitely give me some comments. Which part of these things were profound for you? Because a lot of it was profound for me. All right,